I love how Spock hates Kirk on Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. The relationship between Spock and Captain James T. Kirk is one of the most iconic friendships in television history. From the original Star Trek series to the films and the Kelvin timeline reboots, their bond has been portrayed as a legendary partnership, two men who couldn't be more different, yet find in each other a profound trust and loyalty that shapes Starfleet history. That's why Strange New Worlds takes such a bold and fascinating risk with its portrayal of Spock and Kirk. Instead of instantly giving fans the brotherly connection we expect, the show hints at friction, dislike, and even outright hostility between the two future icons. And honestly, I love it. By letting Spock initially hate Kirk, Strange New Worlds is laying the groundwork for a deeper, more rewarding character arc that doesn't just rely on nostalgia. Instead, it shows us why their eventual friendship matters and how much work it takes to get there. Breaking the myth of instant brotherhood. One of the risks with prequels is the temptation to make everything feel like destiny. If a series shows young versions of characters we already know, it can be too easy to skip the nuance and just speed run to the traits we recognize. Fans already know Spock and Kirk will become best friends, so why not just show them that way immediately? Strange New Worlds avoids this trap brilliantly. When Spock and Kirk interact, there's an undercurrent of tension. Kirk's impulsive, emotional leadership clashes directly with Spock's calculated, logical worldview. Kirk often bends the rules or leaps into action without thinking, while Spock values order, precision, and restraint. Instead of glossing over these differences, the show leans into them, allowing us to see why Spock might genuinely dislike Kirk at first. This creative choice doesn't undermine their future friendship. Instead, it elevates it. If Spock and Kirk started out hating each other, then their eventual bond is earned. Their story becomes less about destiny and more about choice, two men who decide, despite their differences, to trust and rely on each other. Why Spock finds Kirk intolerable. For Spock, Kirk represents almost everything he struggles with internally. Spock's Vulcan upbringing teaches him that emotion is a weakness, that instinct and passion must be subdued in favor of logic. Yet Kirk is the embodiment of passion. He acts on his gut, trusts his instincts, and often risks everything for the sake of his crew. Watching Kirk may remind Spock of the part of himself he tries hardest to suppress. That kind of reflection is uncomfortable. If Kirk succeeds by embracing what Spock denies, it could feel like an insult to Vulcan ideals. There's also a structural issue at play. In Strange New Worlds, Spock is used to serving under Captain Pike, who leads with calm authority and moral clarity. Pike embodies steadiness, the kind of leader Vulcans might naturally respect. Kirk, on the other hand, is chaotic, willing to gamble lives for a chance at victory. The Spock that probably looks reckless, immature, even dangerous. So when Spock seems to hate Kirk, it's not just personal dislike. It's philosophical rejection. Kirk challenges Spock's worldview, and in the early stages, Spock rejects him as a threat rather than embracing him as a partner. Kirk as Spock's greatest test. Of course, one of the themes of Star Trek is growth through conflict. Spock's eventual acceptance of Kirk is not just a character beat, it's the culmination of his internal struggle. To understand why Kirk matters, Spock must reconcile his Vulcan discipline with his human heritage. Kirk forces Spock to admit that logic alone isn't enough. Sometimes the logical choice, risking everything for love, loyalty, or hope, yields the best outcome. Kirk isn't a repudiation of Vulcan ideals, but a balance to them. Without Kirk, Spock might remain forever at war with his human half. With him, Spock learns that emotion can coexist with logic, creating a stronger whole. In this sense, Spock's initial hatred of Kirk is essential. If Spock admired Kirk from the start, his journey wouldn't carry the same weight. By showing us Spock's resistance, Strange New Worlds makes his eventual acceptance of Kirk a triumph of character development. The audience knows where this is going. What makes this storytelling choice so effective is that the audience already knows the outcome. We've seen the original series, the films, even the Wrath of Khan. We know Spock will one day call Kirk his friend, his brother, his captain. That foreknowledge transforms the friction in Strange New Worlds into delicious dramatic irony. When Spock glares at Kirk, or dismisses him, or openly challenges his decisions, the audience can smile knowingly. We see the seeds of a legendary bond, even if the characters don't. It's like watching the awkward teenage years of a friendship we know will last a lifetime. This creates a unique viewing experience. Instead of suspense about what will happen, the tension comes from how it will happen. How will Spock and Kirk move from disdain to respect? What moments will tip the scale? The writers of Strange New Worlds are using our knowledge against us in the best way possible. A fresh take on a familiar dynamic. The brilliance of this choice is that it prevents Spock and Kirk's relationship from feeling stale. If Strange New Worlds simply copied the easy camaraderie we've already seen in the original series, it would feel repetitive. Instead, the show recontextualizes their bond. In doing so, it also challenges longtime fans to reconsider what makes their friendship meaningful. It's not just that Spock and Kirk work well together. It's that they shouldn't. By all logic, Spock should reject Kirk's methods, and Kirk should find Spock inflexible. The miracle of their bond is that it exists at all. This makes their friendship aspirational. If Spock and Kirk can move from hatred to love, from conflict to trust, then perhaps there's hope for all of us to build bridges across our differences. That's very much in the spirit of Star Trek. The Pike factor, another element that complicates things and makes them more interesting, is Captain Pike's presence. Spock already has a model captain he respects deeply. Pike is steady, thoughtful, and embodies many of the qualities Spock admires. This naturally makes Kirk look like a downgrade in Spock's eyes. Fans know Pike's tragic future, and so does Spock. When Pike inevitably steps aside and Kirk takes over, Spock may feel resentment, as though Kirk is unworthy of replacing the captain he revered. That emotional context adds even more fuel to Spock's early hatred of Kirk. But it also sets the stage for Kirk to earn Spock's loyalty. Instead of inheriting it automatically, Kirk will need to prove himself. And when he does, the bond will mean more. Why fans should embrace Spock's hatred? It may feel jarring to see Spock dislike Kirk, especially for longtime fans who idolize their friendship. But this creative decision is one of the smartest things Strange New Worlds could do. It adds tension, depth, and unpredictability to a relationship we thought we knew inside and out. By letting Spock hate Kirk first, the show gives their future bond more texture. It tells us that friendship isn't about instant compatibility. It's about growth, compromise, and mutual respect. That makes Spock and Kirk's eventual connection feel less like fate and more like choice. And in storytelling, choice is always more powerful than destiny. Conclusion: the long road to brotherhood. Spock hating Kirk isn't a betrayal of Star Trek. It's a love letter to it. By daring to complicate one of sci-fi's greatest friendships, Strange New Worlds honors the essence of what makes their bond so compelling. Their friendship isn't inevitable, it's extraordinary. When Spock finally sets aside his disdain, when he admits that,